Hi, it's Laurel Dietz of Elydia Legal Coaching. I'm here with Angela Farley, who is also of Elydia Legal Coaching.
Hello,
We're here to
everyone.
do our divorce chats. So just so you know, if you've been watching these, I'm the lawyer in Elydia Legal Coaching, and Angela is the one who makes sure that there's legal work to be done.
If any of our people are following us, you've probably spoken with me multiple times or maybe by email. So hello,
Yeah,
everyone.
she makes everything work. So this was one that we wanted to talk about that shift that happens after a separation. So what is that shift, Angela? That shift where you suddenly have to start looking at numbers and double checking your facts and
Mhm.
checking your
Yeah,
sources.
so exactly, checking your sources. We often have people saying, oh, well, the other party told me this, and or my ex's lawyer says this, and it's sort of, we have to remind people often that it's important to do your own due diligence. So, you
Yeah.
know, depending on how long your relationship has been, for years, the other person has been your person. So you have, planned together,
They've been your team. They've
together.
been on your team. So
Yeah,
you trust
on
them,
your
right? You
team.
rely on
Yeah,
them.
you rely on them. They advise you, and you take their advice as, something that you consider
Benefits you,
doing.
right? It's in your
That
best
benefits you.
interest
It's in
because
your
they're on
best
your
interest,
team. It
exactly.
benefits the two of you. You're a unit, and you might probably do the same in a different capacity for them, right? Yeah.
For them, exactly. Yes, it's teamwork. And so, then you find yourself separated, and there's a shift. Now, maybe you're not living together, but I think oftentimes we fall into old patterns, and it's like, oh, well, so and so told me this, and it's like, oh, okay. And so you sort of take it as truth or reliable information. Um,
Yeah.
but we have to remember that, we're not two people together planning our lives together anymore. We're separate.
Yes.
We're on
So
separate
where
teams.
exactly. So where we see the issue coming up is it's not so much when there's ill intent, although sometimes there is ill intent,
Mhm.
right? So,
Yes, yeah.
but like absent that, just
Mhm.
because, so your ex says, "Oh, I'm only making this much money." Okay, that's great. Can I see the paperwork, please? And it's not
Mhm.
because you don't, they're not a trustworthy person. It's not because you think they're lying to you. What ends up happening is people are in their own little stressed world, and they might have a false conception of what it is, or a false memory of what they're making, or what they're, what the numbers are is often where the issues come up, right? So where you typically have it is like, oh, my income's only going to be this because let's say we run a business, it's only going to be this. But then, oh, when we finally get the numbers, it's like, no, actually that was you catastrophizing and thinking that like the business is going downhill and my life is, a mess, and this is all I'm going to be making, and this
My
is,
income's
getting
going to be
nervous.
half
And so
what it
that's the
was.
information you're telling. And it's like, but
Mhm.
that's not the truth.
Yes,
that's
that's not
not
reality.
that's not the reality. The reality is separate than whatever maybe they thought in their head and communicated. And the reality is demonstrated through the paperwork. Uh,
Mhm. Mhm.
and so that's why we strongly recommend, even in a situation where you trust your partner, your ex, maybe you shouldn't, but always do your due diligence. Always, always,
Mhm.
always look at the numbers, get the paperwork, review it, get your own legal advice, right?
Mhm.
Your
Yes,
ex does not have the same interests as you in a divorce or separation.
that's right. You don't know what happened when your ex met with their lawyer. Like perhaps there was a miscommunication. Perhaps their lawyer misheard a number and so says child support will be $200 a month, when in reality it will be $300 a month, or
Yeah,
what have
or
you.
yeah, maybe they told their lawyer the wrong information and they got the wrong information in return. Or maybe
And not
they're just
necessarily being
lying.
underhanded or shady, but
It could be.
miscommunications happen. It could be that, yes, that is always a possibility, but it could also be, a miscommunication.
Or human
Like
error.
yeah, a human error. I gave you my net instead of my gross income.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So doing your due diligence is very important.
can save you a lot of money. And now, you know, people have less wiggle room right now for these kinds of mistakes, right? Because it can make or break you in some ways, not to be too, it's like, I think it's a good practice to get into. It's a kind of a training ground for being separate from your ex, right? It's like you're no longer able to rely on them to, you know, do their half of the household chores. You're no longer able to rely on them to do you know, whatever their role was in the relationship. It's like once you separate, you suddenly have to start doing those things again. Like you have to doing all the laundry, all the driving, all the toilet cleaning, all the groceries, you know. And it's like usually divided those up, you know. Maybe you have to do all the income earning, right, for yourself, and that's fine. But I think that having that shift in your life can be really hard when you're also grieving or dealing with the end of a relationship, maybe dealing with some conflict, and then suddenly having to have all the added responsibility can make that grief or that bitterness at the end of a relationship an even harder pill to swallow, because it's like a big change for yourself.
We often talk about like, what's your new life going to be like? And so I think getting in the habit of doing your own research, your own, you know, finding your own new trusted sources of information, you know, it's a great way to start becoming more independent and setting your new life up for success. So,
and I would say, you know, often like in a relationship, you're going to source you might feel a little bit like have a bit of an inferiority complex about various things, because you're like, well, my spouse always did that because he or she was better at it than me, and I just wasn't able to do it. So I'm just what do they call that now? Like weaponized incompetence. Have you heard of that? So the weaponized incompetence is in a relationship where it's like, well, I can't do it, so I'm just gonna do a bad job, and then it just makes the other person do all the jobs for you, and that leads to resentment and anger. But I mean, even if it's weaponized incompetence or whatever it is, I think the as to why you didn't do it before, take responsibility for yourself at the end of the relationship. You are capable. And if you are yourself not capable because you are, you cannot understand math or you cannot understand numbers, what you are capable of doing is probably calling someone, either a professional or a friend, who is capable and who you can rely on. And so it is very tempting, I think, to just trust whatever your ex says and just say, you know what, I just want this done. How many times do we hear that, Angela? Like, I think we should have like a ticker is like, I just want this to be done. I just want to get through this. I just want this to be over. It's like, okay. Do you think anybody wants to be in the midst of their separation? Some do, but not very many. Some do, but not very many. I'll say that again. But that's the thing, right? Like, nobody wants to be in the midst of their divorce and separation. Yes, looking at the numbers is uncomfortable and painful and difficult. But yeah, I guess we cannot stress, do it. Just do it. It's a training for being independent, like Angela says. And it's also like, then when you strike the deal that is going to be the final deal, you will know, because you've looked at those numbers, or you've had your people look at those numbers, that it's a fair deal, or it's the deal that you're happy to be with, right?
Yes.
You won't have any questions.
Maybe you weren't good with doing the numbers, but like you said, you are capable of finding someone that you can hire, or finding a trusted friend that is good with numbers, and taking those steps on your own behalf is very empowering. And I think that when you're going through the stress and hard feelings and sadness of a separation and divorce, that having those little wins, those little bits of empowering feelings, is what we need to help power us through to get to the end.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, you know, I know this is like not new, but like we're in the age of like where any bit of information you could possibly ever want, you can access, you know, by the click of a button. Go to YouTube, go online, find a tutorial, educate yourself, and, you know, get the guidance from the professionals if you need to. Like you say, and no one can ever take that away from you again.
Yes. Yeah,
Right? Once
exactly.
you've learned it and you understand it. It's a new piece of information or skill.
A new skill, a new
Yeah,
tool in your toolbox.
exactly. So that you can live your life better on your own terms going
Mhm.
forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that that's it. Our main takeaway from this is do your due diligence,
That's
do your
right.
research, look at the numbers. Not very lighthearted and fun, but you know. All right. Well, thank you. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit subscribe. Please hit that notification button, hit the like button, and share it with your friends. That's it for now.
Leave us a comment if we've missed anything important.
That's right. Of course, the comments. Okay.
That's right.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.